What is up, guys? So this is Mystery School. Here we are back with another video. So this is going to be like a variant of a players of the game video, but this is going to focus more on a phrase or a term that gets used a lot in the black manosphere called educated lame. Now, for people that don't know what this is, well, this is what the video is all about. So let's get into this shit. So before we get down to the lame part of this video, let's talk about the top echelon of the black sexual market value pyramid here. Right now, it's Tyrone. It's effectively the black variant of Chad. So a Chad is basically a man who gets universal female attention at will. Well, in the black community, that would be Tyrone. High LMS leads to high SMV. This dude's effectively he's a player. He's a fuck boy. He just gets pussy. You know, we call these guys the at least the dumb version of these guys, the Pookie and the Ray Ray. Like these are the type of dudes who exist in the black community, the black community rather in your head, the one that you think of, like the hood dudes. These are like the hood versions of the of Tyrone, Pookie and Ray Ray. Now I'm gonna get to the educated lame version of this, but let's get to this portion first. So we have they have a high tier mouthpiece. So like these men, Tyrones, almost universally have this ability to talk to women, and they have the ability to like basically like charm their way into a woman's bed. And because of that, well, that adds to the LMS. Like these guys are, or rather, their SMV. They're able to just like they have such a way of words. They say things that almost behave in a way that like they don't give a fuck, and like this idea of like being cool and being chill is like what these men excel at when it comes to having a high tier mouthpiece. These men are either blue or red pilled. Don't really need to go into that one very much. We've kind of already beaten the blue and red pill to death here, but they could be blue pilled. You could have a blue pill Tyrone who's just like unaware, and then you have a red pill Tyrone who's very aware of like where he is and how he got there type thing. Like, okay, well, I know I fucking look good, and I know I have a high tier mouthpiece, and I know how to get pussy. Whereas the blue pilled guy, you know, when it comes to like being aware of SMV and LMS, he just has like no fucking clue. He's just like, hey, he's like your a run of the mill Pookie and a Ray Ray type guy who can't keep his dick in his pants and will fuck anything that moves. And of course, this is a kind of a new phrase. I've linked with O'Shea Duke Jackson had a pretty good video on this called a Negro juice or nigga juice. Effectively, Tyrones have Negro juice. They what Negro juice is, at least from my understanding, is like having that swagger. Like the high tier mouthpiece comes with having a Negro juice. Having that swagger, having that cool factor, really helps you out to being a Tyrone. Obviously, I mean, obviously the looks matter, but having this like demeanor of being a hood person or a hood dude does you a road of good in the black community. One thing I've noticed that in the black community is that while looks definitely matter, it matters across the board. It seems to me like there's like another layer on top of it of almost like, well, you have the look, but do you have the do you have a Negro juice? Like you can be the best looking black man in the world, but not have a Negro juice, and therefore black women might not like you because you lack this. So on top of looks, you also need to have this demeanor that black women are looking for, and it's not just like you know Keisha and fucking Mercedes from the fucking block that are looking for this. It seems to be universally that black women are looking for this Negro juice to go along with their Tyrone at every level. And if you don't have it, you're almost not in the black community, or rather, you're not accepted in black from black women. So you're not going to get accepted from black women. So let's keep going. So we have black cells here. We're going to just skip the mid tier people because we're going to get to those guys later on. But we have black cells here. Basically I took the definition from incel.wiki, but someone of sub-Saharan African descent who is also involuntarily a celibate. So basically it's a black man who can't get pussy. Okay, but he wants it. So could be an educated lane, but not exclusively. Often called Urkels or are very overweight. They're fat cells. Like I said, depending on the fat cell though, if it's a dude who has a good face underneath the fat, well he's a vol cell. If not, he's just an ugly fat incel. So either way, they're very likely to be called Urkels. These Urkels, I'll get to that term later, but Urkels are very overweight. Excuse me. Okay, so we have, and they're very likely to lack, that lack the juice that black women are looking for. Lame or nerdy men. Lame is a phrase that I'm going to talk about in the next slide, but they're very, very likely to be nerdy men. They like their anime, like their video games. They're somewhat intelligent, or at least, I don't know. Intelligence is kind of like is kind of relative, obviously, but they at least have this demeanor about them that's not what black women are looking for. They very much act like you know, I hate to use the phrase act white, but they don't act the way that a black man is quote unquote supposed to act. And they're more likely to be red or black pilled. So next we get into the men in the middle here. You call these men educated lames. Um, Educated black men who is not down with the struggle. Not so much not being down with it, but rather like they recognize, like they aren't willing to, like, at least from my opinion, they aren't willing to like blame slavery and whitey. They might acknowledge those things, but they also say that, like, okay, well, what the fuck are we gonna do after the fact now? Like, you can sit down and cry about those things all you fucking want, but I don't want to struggle anymore. I don't want to have to do this anymore. Like, we need to fucking build shit and you know do stuff within our community to make things better. These men are often ostracized from the black community. Um, you know, it's ultimately what the community needs, but what it rejects. And when I say community, what I'm talking about is like the colloquial black community, the black community we all hear about on the news, shooting in this part of town. Over there is a crime happened over there. Like, this is like the black community in everybody's heads that I'm sort of talking about. So what the community needs, what the black community as a whole needs, but what it rejects, because it doesn't want to accept the fact that these men have a point about maybe we shouldn't just be focusing on the past and maybe what the fuck are we gonna do next. So it can be Tyrone, or at least possess, it can be a Tyrone, or at least possess, a Negro juice. So, this is a black woman's worst nightmare, to have an educated Tyrone. Like, to have somebody who's not only has high SMV, but is also not a complete fuckboy and is not controlled by his dick, is a black woman's worst nightmare, because a lot of black women lead with their sexuality or their body first and everything else second. So, like, okay, well, Tyrone, like, you're not going to tie this type of man here down. A educated lame Tyrone or educated Tyrone, you're not going to tie this type of man down with that. You might get sex from him the same way that a Becky or a Stacy can get a sex from a Chad, but you're not going to tie him down with that. But at that point, though, he probably wouldn't be considered lame. So once again, I'm going to get into this stuff in the next slide. We got to get to this baseline stuff here. And you can get around being ostracized or being considered lame by code switching. So what code switching is, at least to me, for my own definition here, is that it's changing your language or demeanor to appeal to your audience. So if you're around black people, you might use more slang, or you talk in a certain way that more black people kind of like quote unquote understand you. And if you're around white people and you're at your job or at a certain venue, you might change your language to appeal to them. Everybody does this to some degree, but it's almost like become like a requirement to be accepted in the black community. Okay, so let me read the little spiel over here. So, this is a really important one, because this is probably one of the most hated groups in the black community. These men are more likely to leave the community than to stay in it. Often will marry women of other races. And let's just break down the name here real quick. Educated. So these men either are either intelligent, or at least have a college degree. So an educated lame doesn't necessarily have to have a college degree. He can simply be an intelligent black man. The lame is what's really up for debate here. What makes these men lame, in my opinion, is their education, is their intelligence. These men prioritize intelligence or education or acquiring resources and money over the struggle, and then they get labeled lame. These men are also more likely to quote unquote talk proper. The same story, applies to that black women do, that white women do with Chad, that the black, I already explained this earlier, but the same story kind of applied when it comes to hypergamy here. Black women will fuck dumbass Tyrone in their 20s and then expect the educated lame to clean up the mess of their lives. In my experience, the women who avoid Tyrone often have the Oprah syndrome, or have the mentality of I don't need a man. So the women who do avoid Tyrone, the women that didn't, fuck around with Tyrone in their 20s, well, they oftentimes have like this weird demeanor of like they kind of behave like Oprah, which I guess kind of comes down to like once again women not being able to think independently and they need an example to show them what to do, or they have the mentality, this fucking phrase that gets passed around a lot. This really kind of spreads to the white community too of I don't need a man. It's like okay, lady, good fucking luck. So next, so now we're gonna continue here, and I'm gonna make some types here, types of educated lames that you could encounter in your life. So we have Tyrone, Lawrence, Carlton, Mark, and Yerkel. So educated Tyrone would be the top of the educated lame hierarchy. Extremely rare though, due to the conditions of the black community, but when they do exist, they are the bane of a black woman's existence. Women might not consider this man to be lame because of his LMS, but like Chad, he has no reason to settle down, and that's why they hate him. He has a high possibility of a hood upbringing, and therefore he will more than likely have a Negro juice. A fictional version of this character might be a Stringer Bell from The Wire. So, if you remember Stringer Bell from The Wire, like if you've never seen The Wire before, I recommend that you watch it. But if you can't watch it, like look up some YouTube videos of Stringer Bell, and this dude would be like the very definition of like an educated, or at least a very very intelligent Tyrone, who's like, dang, he looks fucking good. He's smart as fuck. He's like every woman's bane because like okay, like the black woman's bane because like I can't hold this man down because like for I'll use a BGS's term here, but for a 92 octane to actually get an educated Tyrone, which is what she really wants, she literally has to like she has to like prostrate herself in front of this man because this man's not gonna take her bullshit. Lawrence is a step down, is a step below Tyrone in SMV, but wouldn't be a bad catch for a woman who is less hypergamous. He's probably smarter than Tyrone and is more likely to attend a white university instead of an HBCU. But it doesn't mean that he won't attend an HBCU though. So he's more likely to be considered lame. But if he can master code switching, he can easily be accepted into the community. But he might not. But he might get the side eye for his non-HBCU degree. He probably grew up in the hood, but maybe ended up in a decent white neighborhood later on in life. He has less juice than Tyrone. So Tyrone has the most Negro juice, and then our friend Lawrence here has the next level of Negro juice. So if Tyrone's at 100%, Lawrence is at maybe at like 75%. Um, I can't really think of one off the top of my head, but if I remember from like BGS's videos from Insecure, the character who I got the name from really, Lawrence, this guy right here fits the bill. Carlton is the wealthier version of Lawrence. While Lawrence might live in a decent neighborhood, Carlton grew up in an upper class neighborhood. Because of this, he can't code switch. Definitely considered lame, but women will settle for him because of his wealth. Could end up a beta bucks if he's not careful. Definitely attended an elite white university and has the possibility of marrying a liberal Stacy or Becky. Keep in mind, I said a liberal Stacy or Becky. A conservative woman probably wouldn't date. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit racist here, but they probably wouldn't date a black man. But at least the daddy wouldn't allow it. But a liberal family would definitely wouldn't mind their kid marrying a Carlton who's like, okay, he's wealthy, he's a nice black man. Okay, this works out for us. Okay, this is cool. We get to have the black card on our side now. Yay. Okay, and the name obviously comes from the a Fresh Prince. So if you don't know Carlton, I think everybody's seen the fucking Fresh Prince. This guy right here. Carlton once again he lacks Negro juice, but the wealth makes up for the lack of the juice. Okay, next up is a person I want to call Mark. I don't really have an example, but whatever. Let's keep going. So next up is Mark. Mark is less likely to know how to code switch than Lawrence is. So Carlton can't code switch, but Lawrence can. So like, Mark probably he can code switch on some level, but he really can't do it very very well. Because he can't code switch, he's finding acceptance and he'll start trying to find acceptance in other communities due to his behavior. He will be accused of acting white, very likely to be a nerd and play video games and watch anime, very likely to live outside of the black community, little to no Negro Jews. Once again, if Lawrence has, 75, goddamn, Mark probably has like 10. So, he'll be called like slurs or words like Oreo. You'll be called an Oreo. Oh, you're black on the outside and white on the inside. You're not really a black man. You know, this is where a lot of the overweight, educated black men end up. Very likely to attend a white university and maybe marry a Becky, or they could end up at Black Cell. Then we have our Urkel. Everybody knows fucking Urkel from the fucking Family Matters. This is kind of like almost explains itself. Urkel and Mark are very similar, except that Urkel is skinny. Urkel and Mark are very likely to enjoy the same video games and anime. Urkel effectively has zero Negro juice and is almost universally unaccepted in the black community. But he's probably more likely than not to be the smartest out of the bunch. But ultimately at the end of the day, when it comes to like black women and dating, they don't want this guy. He's basically what black women are kind of thinking about when they think of the word lame. So we're talking about educated lame here. For my opinion, being educated is not lame. But just to take this phrase here, like if we take a look at like Tyrone, who's not lame, an educated Tyrone who's not lame, and an Urkel who is lame, it's very obvious that like it's not so much the educated part that's maybe wrong with being being labeled educated lame. It's the lame part. It's the fact that you know we're just taking the word lame here and we're extrapolating it down to like okay, Tyrone is not lame and Urkel is the most lame, and everybody here else in the middle here is like a certain level of lame that's either acceptable or unacceptable depending on circumstances. Once again, Carlton's probably considered lame, but because of wealth, well, he gets a boost up. Oh, he has money, a black man with money. Oh shit, we all got to get on that one. Somebody better secure him now, even though we don't really like him sexually. He has the money to fucking make up for that lack of thing. Otherwise, he'd probably be down here with Urkel, or maybe over here with Mark. So yeah, this is kind of a short video, but I hope that my tiers made sense there. I was trying to like make this video and trying to like make sure I added everything in there. Obviously, there's some in between here, like obviously from Tyrone to Lawrence, there are people that fall in the middle here. From Lawrence to Carlton, there are people that fall in the middle here. Obviously, every single scale is not perfect, but it's just a continuum. Like there are obviously like a middle tiers in between Carlton and Mark that you could probably people would fit into. They're just not named here. You could probably add some. But yeah, let me know if you guys agree or disagree with my tier list here when it comes to educated lames. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. This was a really fun video to make. The other players of the game video part 2 is basically done. It's not the video's not done, but the PowerPoint's done. I just gotta fucking record it and get it out of here. So other than that, see you guys in the next video, and never forget that wisdom is gold.